And still with you, Angela, and Bronte mentioned it just a second ago. Further comments this week about the royal family being very welcome at the Invictus Games next year. Obviously, it is in the UK. Is this all part of this attempt to all head in the same direction?
I think this is obviously been leaked. It's not until 2027, these Invictus Games, so they're getting in 2 years ahead. And what what Harry's team is saying is that that the royals are all invited to the Invictus Games, and it's super important for him that he does have members of the royal family there. The last time there was an Invictus Games event in London, members of Diana, the late Diana's family, were there, but there was not a show from the royal family. I think this is part of that drive to think about what we're going to do looking forward. And of course, the King's Diary is booked out months, years in advance. So I think it's very strategic in terms of getting in there early.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, Bronte, over to Montecito, and Meghan's rosé has dropped. The feedback has been thick and fast. What have we heard?
Well, like all things that Meghan puts out there, you know, it's divided the crowd. So this rosé was first teased a couple of weeks back. It's finally dropped. As expected, it's sold out because everything that she's put up on As Ever so far has sold out quite quickly. This sold out within the hour. Again, we don't know how much stock was released, so it's hard to comment on what that means for demand. But again, you know, Meghan fans, as we always see with things, as I said, that she puts out, Meghan's most ardent supporters are saying it's wonderful. A lot of people have reviewed it as bland. I think it's interesting she released a rosé at all, given that, you know, her former lifestyle blog was named after a red wine, which is her favourite drink. I would have thought perhaps she'd move into that space. But she has spruiked this wine as saying that it is infused, this is a quote, infused with whimsy and joy. I'm not sure that everyone that's reviewed it has come back with that same conclusion. As I said, there has been some feedback that it's bland, but at the same time, once again, it's sold out. So who knows? At a $45 Australian dollar price point, you would expect it to be of high quality. It was made, I think, around 6 hours away from where she and Harry live, at a winery called Fair Winds Estate, which caters to a lot of celebrities. So look, you would expect a high standard for that price and for where it was coming from, but I wouldn't say that it's been overwhelmingly positive in the feedback so far.
I do like the description of it, though. That did make me giggle, I do have to say. Angela, Zara and Mike Tindall were spotted in Australia at the last State of Origin match. Well, that was a nice surprise, wasn't it?
I loved seeing this. This is completely surprised because they usually don't come here in winter. They come in summer, of course, for the Magic Millions Carnival. But this shows, I mean, of course, Mike is a former rugby player and he has a podcast on sport. But what I love about this, it shows their enduring affection for Australia. Of course, they met in Manly in Sydney when Tindall himself was playing in the Rugby World Cup. But there's a lot of talk about them setting up a second home here. When I interviewed Chris Hemsworth's wife last year, she talked about their really close relationship, all those Magic Millions ambassadors that had been to each other's houses, that the Tindall kids absolutely loved hanging out in Byron Bay, that they loved the bearded dragon that the Hemsworths had, and that how when they got back to London they had to try and get this pet for one of the kids. So I think the likelihood of them spending more time here, if not indeed having a second home here, is entirely possible. And I'm all for it because they are my favourite royals.
And what a great way to make yourself relatable to ordinary people, and particularly ordinary Australians, by turning up to the State of Origin. Thank you so much, Angela Mollard and Bronte Coy.